Hi, everybody. Welcome to Quaranreads, your favorite quarantine book club on the internet. I'm Raven, and yeah, we had a hiatus over the holidays, and we are back here on YouTube and soon to be on Facebook when I share the link. I'm very excited to talk about Waking Gods. Yes. So the book that we are discussing is of course Waking Gods, which is the sequel to Sleeping Giants.
And yeah, we had a hiatus
I
over
forgot
the
to,
holidays, and we are back here on
yeah,
YouTube.
Crud Muffin. Yeah, but that was the video playing, so that means I'm going to share it to Facebook now. But yeah, so like I said, welcome back to Quarren Reads. This is the best internet book club, quarantine style, on the web. Although it doesn't seem it because we don't have any followers. If you like us, please follow, like, subscribe, join us on Facebook at Quarren Reads, and yeah, we're gonna try to do some more stuff in 2021. So it's a whole brand new year. We're still talking about Waking Gods like we did, I think, one video on it before the break. And we'll continue to talk about that for a while, but we're going to pick another book. Oh my God. Yeah, it's 2021. It's a new year. Um, a lot of crazy things going on in the world. Shoot. A lot of crazy things going on in the world. And it's been weird. It's been interesting to say the least this week. And here's hoping we still have democracy as time goes on. Yeah. I'm going to type the little information in to Facebook so y'all can join from Facebook. Okay, I'm going to call this book discussion. What is this? No, Waking Gods. So the book is by Sylvain Nouvel. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but he's Quebecois. So, and it's, like I said, it's a sequel to his book Sleeping Giants, which we read before. If you go a few videos back, it may even be on Facebook. I'm not sure. So yeah, it's quite a fun book. I've been enjoying it. Oh, I actually finished it like the week that I started reading it. So it's really interesting. So if you started with us in Sleeping Giants, that's when our main characters discovered body parts for like mechanical body parts for this like giant metal woman figure who they started calling Themis or Themis. Um, I don't know which pronunciation is correct. I've been watching a lot of DC Universe stuff, and Wonder Woman's from Themyscira, and I just figured, like, I put two and two together that Themis, because Wonder Woman's whole thing is Greek mythology, like clearly because she's a Amazon, but at any rate, so um, yeah, so they built this big alien machine, robot woman person thing that they called Themis, because they wanted to name all of the robots after the Titans, because they had figured out that like there were like 12 of them or something. I don't know. And yeah, so Themis was the only one that was left on Earth. So now in this book, other of them robot things start to appear on Earth again. And it is not the greatest outcome. So I went into reading the book, to be fair, like I read a ton of like stuff, and like I'm into like superheroes and things like that. So a lot of the times when like the big like high stakes world ending event is happening, in the fiction that I'm used to, like it like ends up not happening somehow. So this was like very different. Um, I'm gonna talk about it kind of tentatively because I don't know if we're gonna talk about the whole thing today, but I think we're probably gonna have at least two, and because we still need to pick another book. We haven't done that, so we'll still be talking about Waking Gods next week too. But um, yeah, so I guess my disclaimer for the book, if you haven't started reading it yet, is that it has a lot of tragedy and death. So if you are easily disturbed by like death or catastrophic events, or if you have experienced a real life catastrophic event and like you feel like that would be triggering, this may not be the book for you. I don't know. You might find it cathartic in some way, but I'm gonna try and talk about the first half of the book or something, or first third or first half or whatever. I think we talked a little bit about it last time. Um, but yeah, so they start to discover. I mean, well, it's no need to be discovered because like we said last time, the robot just appears in London. And with the robot appearing, the the humans we're not like quite sure what they are or why they have come or what they want. And when it comes out, the robot that appears does not move or anything. And I think they call that one Cronus. And it's just like freaky, right? And you know, what ends up happening with that robot is that it does end up killing like thousands of people in the vicinity of it in London. So you would think like, wow, that was crazy. Like that would be like a worldwide like mourning event. Like if something like that happened in real life, everybody would be like, oh my God. Right. So it's very bleak. It just feels very like sad and bleak. Um as I was reading it, I was reminded a little bit of what we have gone through with coronavirus because one of the characters was talking, I think it was Rose and maybe our nameless friend. Um, they were talking about um, how people have a hard time processing large numbers. So when you're talking about death, if you were in a room with someone and you saw them get murdered, you would be highly disturbed. You would be messed up. Like you would not be fine. If you saw on the news that a dozen people were blown up in a building in your city, you would be highly disturbed. You wouldn't be okay. You would feel like, how could this happen? But as the numbers get larger, it's like there's a point where you feel disconnected from the reality of it. And what was reminding me of coronavirus is just that like so many Americans have died from coronavirus complications due to coronavirus. And like we as a country, and like don't get me wrong, individual people do care, but we as a country have collectively decided that we do not care. We don't care. We're not doing memorials. We're not doing all that we can to prevent more death. It's just we are just like, meh, oh, thousands of people are dead. It's like 350,000 people or something like that have died from COVID in this country alone, in the US. And yeah, so it was just reminding me of that because their number of people who died in, I think, in the first incident, and I do say the first incident, so if you haven't read the book, that should tell you something. First incident, that should tell you something. But in the first incident, I think 4 million people died or something in that like first London attack. And because like the robot literally just cast out one of those big, you know how Themis in the first book can like explode out her force field and it just like destroys everything in the vicinity. That's what she did. And so or that's what the new machine did, which is like a male coded machine. Um and it like exploded out like a big crescent moon shaped force field and like killed everybody and everything in that vicinity. Not only killed, but like wiped out. Like it's like a dirt patch in the middle of London, which is one of the most populous cities in the world, obviously. So um it was like upwards of 4 million people died, I think, and they just and like it was hard. I think Rose was saying it was hard for her to process like what that meant, because at a certain point, like they're just numbers, and it's hard for you to think about that being like someone's little girl, or um the kid that you took math class with that wouldn't stop talking to you about Iron Man, or like, something like that, right? It's hard for you to picture them as people. It's hard for you to picture, their their mom making them their favorite meal for their birthday. It's hard for you to picture them on their first date having their first kiss under the moonlight. It's hard for you to picture them as a human having a life and having experiences. They just now are a number on a page. And so that was interesting for me. But let's go back to like some of the other plots of the book. So one of the other major plots of the book is that Kara and Vincent, their genetic material was taken. Well, let's just be like plain. It was not like genetic material. It was a reproductive like stuff that you need to reproduce, right? So like eggs were harvested, sperm was harvested, and um they were made, they were put together, embryos were made, and they have a daughter now that they don't know about, who has grown up in Puerto Rico, and she's 10 years old. And her name is Eva. And Eva has like some kind of like special like premonition ability. So what we find is that the people um who can operate Themis have some level of alien DNA that is higher than most people. And we'll talk about that point later. So they have some level of alien DNA, and they can, at this specific level, can operate this machinery, which is great. Cool. And so I don't know. And so somehow, like when they came together, or when their DNA came together and made Eva, she was then like even more alien DNA, and she could have these visions. So she was having visions of various things, um, of people dying, of like different stuff, right? And so like her parents thought that she would like her parents that were raising her in Puerto Rico thought that she was just like not doing well in the head. So they were like taking her to psychiatrists and stuff. But come to find out, she's um, Kara and Vincent's daughter, and people want her because if she can prove to operate Themis, like Themis at this juncture only has two pilots that can operate it. Although we later learned that probably more people could. They would just have to find them, which is like finding a needle in a haystack because there's 8 billion people on Earth. So, um, yeah. So, yeah, she becomes like a target, and other groups want her. And so she needs to be extracted from Puerto Rico before like other people get their hands on her. And I will pause there, and I'm going to try. Oh, shoot. Participants. I'm going to try to invite my good buddies to join. If you too would like to join, you just have to check it out on Facebook. So if you go concurrently, I don't know what I'm saying. Looks like I need to open another Facebook tab because I closed that one. You'll have to go to the Facebook, and the link will be posted on the Quaranreads Facebook page. That's QUARANREADS. and it should say Quaranreads Social Distancing Book Club. And I shall post the linky poo currently. Okay, here it goes. Posting the whole invitation. Please come and join me. And yeah, but yeah, the book is it's good. I honestly I like it. I really enjoyed myself. That's why I breezed through it, because I liked the first one too. I breezed through it, but it's very bleak. Like, when you watch like an Avengers movie, other than like Infinity War where they like lose, but even in Infinity War they like win lose. So like they are holding their own, and like you feel like, yeah, kick the butt. But like usually in a superhero movie, like the big world ending thing is happening and then they win. This thing, it's very bleak. Yeah. So yeah, I'm letting Mel. Hi. Connecting to audio. Hello? I can't hear you. Say something. There you go.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Hey.
How's it going? Happy New Year.
Thank you. You too. You too.
Yeah.
Did you have a good break?
Yeah, well, yeah. Up until like the crazy stuff started happening again. But yeah, like yeah, I did holiday stuff and ate lots of treats, which is my favorite thing about the holidays. Cookies and stuff like that. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I had a pretty good break. Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty restful, and then my last week back at work was okay. It was kind of stressful. But I have one kid with like special learning needs.
Oh yeah.
And we're all online right now, and it's just really not working. And the school's not really working with us, and it's just been kind of an uphill battle trying to get this kid where he can do school. But hopefully on Tuesday there's supposed to be this big meeting with all of his teachers and the principal of his school and all this stuff. So hopefully he can get some more support.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been good.
Yeah. But yeah. Did you manage to read more of the book or finish it or anything?
Yeah, I finished the book this morning.
Okay.
Yes.
I devoured it. I was like, oh my God. Because like everything is like bad stuff kept happening. And I was like, when are they gonna fix this?
Yeah, it was wild.
Like I devoured it.
Yeah, I started out reading kind of slow because there's a lot of science jargon.
Yeah.
But then as it got going, I was like, oh no.
Yeah. I could definitely see how it's like the middle of the trilogy or whatever. I think it's a trilogy. Because it's like, yeah, that they didn't really solve it.
Yeah, they definitely teased a sequel at the end.
Yeah.
So, sit back here.
So what were your thoughts? I'm kind of trying to, because we'll still be talking about it next week. I think we need to pick another book, but I'm kind of trying to like keep it like we're not going to talk quite about the end yet. We'll talk about the end next week. But what were your thoughts?
Well, yeah, it was very bleak and sad and very intense. Yeah, it went from being like a very like political book to being just like, wow, it's the apocalypse, survival, let's go.
Yeah.
Which was a little scary to read after this past week. But
very much.
Yeah.
I thought the twist with Eva was interesting, where like she turned out to be their daughter. I kind of was thinking that like because the first time we get a chapter with Eva, I think she's talking to her friend about a dream that she had, and we don't even really know who she is. It just says like Eva Reyes, and we're just like, who is this child? But I kind of was like, I wonder if she's supposed to be like the child of Kara and Vincent, and then it turns out that she is. But yeah, I was kind of predicting it just because like I remembered like in the first book that what's her face was like doing all those experiments on them.
Mhm.
And then I was just like, why are we looking at this random child? It wouldn't make sense otherwise. So, but yeah, what did you think of that?
Yeah, I think, well, yeah, I mean, I was kind of like, yeah, wondering why she was, I knew she was going to end up really coming into play. But yeah, I guess I didn't think too hard about it because there was enough space between when we read the first one to when we read this one. Also, we don't, yeah, well, I guess I can't give that away. That has to do with the ending.
Yeah. Yeah, like the big twist is like, but I'm not gonna say that yet. We'll talk about it next week. But
Yeah.
but it made sense, the big twist. I was like, yeah, that's kind of realistic, I guess.
Yeah.
This author must be like really into science because his his science fiction works well within the realm of like actual science, whereas a lot of science fiction is just like, this guy can replicate himself. No one knows why. Science, you know?
Yes. It seems like he's trying really, really hard to make it like seem plausible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, it's really like, I don't know, interesting and unclear to me how much the rest of the world is like functioning normally outside of like this group that's working on solving this problem.
Yeah. It's very interesting. And the I was talking before about COVID, and I was just and I was like, before, like if I would have read this book before this pandemic, I would be like, why is everyone acting like they don't care? But like here we are and everyone's acting like they don't care.
Yeah.
We're not being under attack by aliens or anything, but like we are under attack technically by this virus. And like everyone's just like, I'm going to the mall, and it's really disheartening. And but like it's like that with like a lot of disaster movies or disaster books or whatever. Like at first you're like if you watch it, you're like, why are they like not, why is no one reacting to this, or like why are people like taking it so meh? And then we experience a once in a lifetime global pandemic, and we're getting a lot of that reaction.
Yes. I think I heard something or saw something on the internet that was like, now we know that if aliens attacked, half of the world would just be like, no, they're not.
Yeah. They're like, no, like literally aliens are like blowing up every major city. No, fake news.
Yeah. Nah, it's all good.
Gosh, this year. Or wow, this year has only just started and it still feels like this year.
Yeah, I mean, also,
It's a holdover from.
Yeah, it's all holdover from last year. So
yeah. But yeah, like I felt like well, one of the big things that like was interesting to me was like I wasn't clear on like what the aliens were about. And then like as the thing unfolded, we start like learning more about like, well, okay, so the nameless guy, his friend Mr. Burns or whatever, like I kind of figured that he was like one of the part alien people, right? Or like you know, like those
Yeah.
specifically part alien people who I guess are like the ones he was talking about. So like I guess I assumed like but I guess anybody would have assumed with the first book that like the aliens were purposefully attempting to like monitor the humans in some way, if you get what I mean. Like
Mhm.
that they had that, you know, they were like viewing the humans as like a project, or like, oh, let's see what happens if we like seed this planet or whatever.
Mhm.
But what was interesting was when the ship got here, or like when the second robot got here and was like it had landed in England, they didn't seem to like have any interest in like getting to know humanity, getting to know anything about humanity. It's like it's almost like they were just there to like be like, how did this planet get one of our ships, or like one of our battle bot things?
Mhm.
Yeah. And it also made me curious like why they wouldn't try to contact the humans first. Just seemed a little like, what is going on here?
Yeah, they never really talk. I thought at some point they'd talk to like the pilots that were inside the things or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they never really talk, and it sounds like they were kind of there to like they thought they could just land and get rid of the one group that like Mr. Burns was related to and then leave.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it'd be a big thing.
Yeah, it was very interesting. But you know, I wonder like if the writer was going for like a I guess like it's hard to put this into words what I'm trying to say. But I guess like they assumed that the aliens were so much more superior than humans. But it almost is like they made a very human error. And if you compare like human history, like things that we have done, or like humans in general have done to other humans, like whether we're invading another country or like committing a genocide or like doing something, and like the group who's doing it always has some justification for it. Like they're like, oh well, you know, I don't know, westward expansion or whatever, right? But in doing so, they're also committing all these atrocities. And they're like, well, we have to because of blah blah, blah, you know. And like it feels very much like that, because it's like the aliens seem like they thought they were doing one thing and they ended up doing another thing. And they probably thought they had a good justification for it, because it didn't seem like they were here to like take over the planet so much as they were here to like, you know, clean up their mess in a sense. Um, yeah, like you were saying, like, you know, get rid of Mr. Burns's group. And, you know, they made a very human error considering they're not human. But it was like discussed like they were so superior, like almost like they were godlike or something, but then they end up being like just as
Yeah.
inept or violent or whatever as humans.
Yeah. Yeah. And also like they didn't really know much about Earth before coming here and didn't really find that out.
Yeah. Right.
Or
They
they
could
could
have
have avoided all this, you know.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I yeah, I do wonder like was that what he was going for? It'd be interesting to hear what he had to say.
Mhm.
A lot of writers love to like insert like political commentary. I personally like, you know, everything is political in some way. It's very hard to divorce everything from politics. Um,
Yeah.
Especially art. Art is often political just inherently, and like writing is one of the forms of art because it imitates um, reality. It just becomes inherently political. So it's kind of hard to not find political messages in it, but I do wonder if like it was purposeful, because it feels sort of like it, especially because like he does spend the books kind of like doing all these, he has a lot of political, like Earth political figures in it, like not real life political figures. As far as I know, I think they're all made up. I don't think he uses any real person's name.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
But like, he's got generals and prime ministers and, all that stuff. They're all debating, like, what are we going to do about this thing that landed? And like members of parliament are debating it when that thing lands in London. They're all like, do we bomb it? Do we leave it alone? Do we try to communicate with it? And it's like, him using so much like political back and forth, does even more open the door for us to read into things politically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because so many of these countries go to war with each other and they fight each other all the time. And then now they have this common enemy, and it felt like they still couldn't like come together to like defend Earth from this thing. It's like Russia's like busy trying to kidnap this little girl from Puerto Rico so they can use the machine without anybody else. And it's like, come on, guys, we got aliens landing on Earth. Let it go.
Yeah. It is interesting because, people like turned, or a lot of the political parties kind of turned on their own people a little bit, because Russia destroyed all of Moscow, and then Spain had the US come over and nuke Madrid.
Yeah. It's just really bad.
Yeah. And it is interesting because it's still such a like America centric book.
Yeah.
Like all the people who are like special or chosen are American. Well, except Vincent, I guess, isn't American, but
yeah,
they're all American. The people who are like the good guys, so to speak, are for the most part American. And then you still have like this mistrust of Russia and like some of these other kind of, I don't know, political tropes in there.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of weird.
Has to be on purpose. I mean, the author himself is Canadian, because he's Quebecois. So
oh yeah, well,
it's interesting, but I think like his book is very like sci-fi tropey, but not in like a way where it's like he's relying on tropes, but it's like almost like he's like, look at what sci-fi movies do. And so I think maybe that's like part of the reason it's so focused on like what America's doing and like, Russia's evil and like that type of idea, because a lot of science fiction or action movies do that same like type of trope.
Yeah.
Very cool stuff. But yeah, it's like an interesting book, but it's also like very bleak. Like I found myself being like, oh my God, like is anything good ever gonna happen in this book? Is everyone just gonna die? Like, but then like I knew that there was a next book because these books have already been out. So it's like there's a third book. So like the world doesn't end at the end of this book, but it sure felt like it.
Yeah, it really felt like they were just going to kill off every main character.
Yeah.
So I guess spoiler alert, sorry guys, but it really felt like they were just going to murder everyone.
Everybody.
Yeah.
I was like, God.
Yeah.
So yeah, like if major character death is not your thing, this may not be your book series.
Yeah. Not afraid. Or people will start turning back up like they did.
Yeah.
In the next book, people start turning back up maybe.
Yeah. I was wondering about that because they did that for Rose. I was wondering why they didn't do it for Nameless Guy. I understand like the role that Rose had to play in the end, but like you would think, because Mr. Burns had been communicating with, the guy who has no name the whole time, you would think Burns would have like done the same thing for him, but he didn't. Yeah. Well, we don't know if he did or not. I guess he may have in the third book.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't know. Yeah, 'cause it is weird. It is weird that like they would get rid of him and then still have more books because he's such, I guess less so in this one, but especially in the first one, such a like central character that's like moving the plot along
Yeah.
for a lot of these and like doing all these interviews. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, he's
like,
he feels integral, but I don't know.
Yeah,
They have the technology.
it's true.
Yeah.
They would have had to have scanned him first, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. That is interesting though. Like, I am confused about the reasoning that the aliens came, because it seemed like whoever like the people are that are Mr. Burns's like family or group or whatever, it seemed like they were like operating kind of on the same, like using the same technology as the aliens had available. And it also seemed like maybe they were communicating with them, but maybe they weren't. Maybe some of them just also had some kind of intuition or like whatever, like the same way Eva does. But it like, because Burns had like insight that felt as if he knew something more, like he was communicating with them. But I don't know, like it seems like he wasn't, maybe like because why did the aliens come down to kill them? Like, I'm very confused. I'm very perplexed. But I'm sure like some of that will be resolved. But yeah, I'm confused about that.
Yeah.
Burns is an interesting character. I would love to know more about that particular group too, because they the story that was told were like that the aliens who came with the original ships um had children with human women, and they also kind of like give the hint that like if there were like all the stories that we have about like the Greek gods or whatever are based on those events. So like you got the ships who are the Titans, and I guess like the alien pilots would have been the Olympians, and then I guess their half human children would have been demigods. And in like the course of like, so like the Hercules and the whatever. And so I do wonder, like, is that what they're going for real? And like, who are these people? And like, what has their role been on Earth this whole time? Or do they just kind of keep themselves and not really have a role in anything?
Well, and is he the last one?
Yeah.
I was wondering that too. Because I thought maybe he was the only one that was left, in which case he led all, I mean, I guess he would have died, but also if at the beginning of this he had just stopped, he had gone out there and been like, hey, it's me.
Well, yeah, but also didn't he say we scanned you when he was telling Rose? But also, is it him and those people, or did he have like minions? I don't know his life. We don't know anything about him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But mysteries are fun, but I like mysteries when they're solved in the book that I'm reading more than they're left open for me to read later. But it's definitely more of an adult oriented book in that sense. Like a lot of like young adult stuff, they try to solve more things within the first book or within the book that you're reading. Whereas adult series tend to do that a lot more, like leave things open and solve it in a later book, which is fine. It's fine. This book just like, it's very like it's a much more tense read, so like it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah. And it doesn't, I mean, they do solve things, but it's still like kind of open-ended. So like,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, not to discourage people from reading to the end because they do solve things, but like,
Yeah.
definitely there's room for a sequel. So
Yeah. And maybe we'll read it. I don't know. We'll get some more books on the list and do a vote again. It'll be fun. I'm excited to pick another book. I've found some ones that like I think are interesting, and I went through Goodreads because they do like the awards at the end of the year, like the best books of the year. And I looked at some of those books and I was like, maybe we'll read one of those. I don't know. So I don't know. I kind of want to do something a little bit more lighthearted after this book because this book was like a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll just think about it. I guess we should probably vote this week so that we can know what our next book is because we don't need to drag this out because we've both read the book. I just wanted to allow other people a chance to read it if they're watching and want to like talk about it and don't want to be spoiled yet. So breaking it down into a couple videos, but yeah, I kind of want to read something more lighthearted.
Well, I'll look for more lighthearted suggestions then.
Yeah. Something that's not about the world almost ending, no aliens. Aliens can be there if they're friendly. But
yeah, no more the robots that are killing people. Yeah. No.
Something good. I'm like still kind of like biased against romance novels, but I'm kind of coming out of that because it's not a fair bias. Just like any other genre, there can be really good novels in romance and really bad ones in romance. So I'm kind of like trying to like, hey, let's not hate on romance novels as much because, good fiction is good fiction. And everybody has the genre that they like. So if you like a romance novel and you want to recommend it, go right ahead.
Well, and I think, and there's a difference between like romance novels and like romance novels, that are like written, like a fanfic or like, those weird dollar store ones. There's a difference, I think, so.
Yeah, and I think like stuff like Pride and Prejudice and stuff are technically romance novels.
Yeah.
So,
but exactly. Yeah. And it's not just about romance. So
yeah. I watched Bridgerton, which is based on a romance novel series, and like, listen, I liked it a lot. It's very much fan fiction. Like have you watched it?
I tried. And okay,
it's very much fan fiction.
Yes, I was not expecting that, first of all. Second of all, the older brother who sucks, right? The kind of sexist older brother, or at least in the first episode, that's how he came off. Who's like sleeping around and stuff. His like main mistress, who's like the singer or whatever, looks a lot like someone I know, and it freaked me out. So I stopped watching because I was like, I can't see all these sex scenes. Like, I don't but I should give it a second chance because I do love a good period drama.
Yeah. But like I watched it and I didn't know it was based on a book series. I found out like after I finished it. But as I was watching, I was like, this is very much fan fiction. Like like in a way that like, it's not necessarily period accurate, and it's very like rushed, and the romance is very like fast, which like fan fictions do that. And it was that type of same setup where it's like, we're gonna pretend to date because I have a reason for it and you have a reason for it, but then we accidentally fall in love for real. It was very much that type of plot, but it was so fun. It was so fun. And I only thought of it because we were talking about romance novels, and apparently it's based on the Bridgerton series, which is like 12 novels, which I'm never gonna read. Good luck to you guys.
So many. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I might give it a second shot. I don't know. I mean, I can watch some bad rom-coms, let me tell
Yeah.
you.
Me too.
I've watched After, which is based on a Harry Styles Wattpad fan
I
fiction.
know what you're talking about.
It had no plot, nothing happened, and it was so
Yeah.
bad. But like, I can watch one. That one, I just need to give it a second chance because that one lady looked like someone I know, and I like, yeah, it was a lot. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
definitely watch through. You'll get to a point where you're like, oh, well, I'm just gonna keep watching.
I get so invested.
The sex scenes get really intense. It's very HBO.
Yeah, listen, the first episode was already like
Yeah.
kind of a lot for me. So I was like, I don't. Sometimes they just do that in the first episode, and sometimes it's just like,
Yeah,
let-
it's a weird contrast because they're doing this Regency era thing, and of course, like back then, people were extra proper. So like you've got these young ladies who are debuting into society, and now they're going to all these balls and things to meet guys, and they like don't even know like the first thing about sex or their own anatomy or the male anatomy, and they're just very proper, and you're not allowed to like be seen alone with the guy, kissing a guy, anything. And then you've got on the other side these crazy sex scenes. So it's like,
yeah.
you're doing this purity thing, and then you're doing this like everyone's going at it thing. So it's like whiplash.
Yes, it was very jarring.
Yeah.
I was jarred. Yeah, I was not expecting it. Uh yeah, and I don't know. I get, yeah. And like, that's cool. I don't want to be like, I don't know, a prude about it, but it was very jarring.
Yeah, it was jarring. Gonna
Yeah.
lie, it's jarring. It's very much a show written for the female gaze. I'll say that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I get that impression. But I had trouble, like, I don't know, I didn't make it too far into the first episode. So there was just a lot of stuff with the brother. And I was supposed to like him, but there was something so, like, I don't know, I was just sexist about
Yeah,
him
he's
and annoying. And I was like, I can't like this guy. I don't
pretty
like.
crap. He's
I
pretty
felt
crap.
like they wanted me to like him and be like, wow, he really does have a good heart. And I was like, I don't. Maybe I think just it was more setting up his character, and if I'd watched further I would have gotten to like the main like people, the one girl and the main like
Yeah.
plot of it, and I think I just didn't get that far, so it was just more of that guy, and I was like, this guy sucks, and the double standards here annoy me, and I get that that's probably the point, but I just
Yeah, he straight up sucks, and it's clear
yeah
because yeah, he tries to get his sister to marry this like totally awful, terrible dude because I cannot fathom what his point was. Like there were better guys, not only like in like looks, personality, and stature, meaning like, like social standing in their
yeah
society. And like he's just like adamant that she's gonna marry this awful, awful guy. And like I just to this day do not understand what that was about. Like usually when a situation like that was happening, it was because like that person had a certain like standing in society or like was very wealthy or something, and they wanted their female relative, daughter or sister or whatever, to have like that type of life or like make the alliance with that family.
yeah
This guy like really didn't make sense. I mean, he was from like a noble family, but like there was no reason, like they didn't need that.
hmm.
So it was just like, why are you pushing this awful guy so hard? And he was just being like a total dick about it. But it's made clear that he's being a dick. So it's like, yeah,
Okay.
he's doing sexist, awful stuff, but it's like made clear that it's awful.
Okay. Oh, maybe I should give it a second chance.
Yeah, try it out.
Yeah, that's good to know.
But anyway, we're coming to the end of this meeting, I guess. Um, it's
Hmm.
6:56 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess we can come up with a list of books that we can choose from and do some kind of vote. Hopefully by next Sunday. I'm gonna try to not suck this time and actually put it up. But yeah, so we can have a new book picked, and we'll talk more about Waking Gods next week, and
Okay.
finish talking about it hopefully, because I would like to finish talking about it. It's very good. It's very bleak, and I don't know. No comment. We'll get to talk about all the cool twists next week. Or like the disturbing twists most of the time. Most of them were just like, oh God. But
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. I'll send
yeah,
some book suggestions along.
cool. All
Mhm.
right. So I guess that's it. I will talk to you next week. I'm gonna go eat some dinner because I'm hungry. And yeah, talk to you later.
Alrighty. Bye.
Bye and good night.
You too.
See you everyone. Same bat time, same bat channel.